last session for the day, and I must say the one that I am most looking forward to, the young people panel discussion. I'm really delighted to have with me here 5 young people who will share their thoughts. And rather than me tell you who they are, you know we already said we like to hear young people's voices, so I'd rather they say who they are. So off you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is George, and I'm a former resident in one of Centrepoint's hostels in Barnet.
Hi, can you hear on this?
Yeah.
All right, I don't know. Hi, my name's Ayran. I'm a former Centrepoint resident. I live in Bradford, West Yorkshire.
Hi, I'm Cameron and I'm from Sheffield. I'm a former Centrepoint tenant.
Hi, I'm Ikra and I'm currently living in Centrepoint from January 2022.
Hi, I'm Amna and I live at Centrepoint as well in Balham.
Excellent. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my panel. Please welcome them. Good. Let's dive straight into the questions. First thing we'd like to know from your perspectives is, what changes would you have made to make life easier for you? Can I start with you, George? The rest of you will be thinking about the answers.
What changes would I have made? Personally, I would say when I was the transition between being, accommodated and when I first became homeless, it was a very tough transition. And I remember when I went to social services, for example, I got accused of being a liar and all sort of things. And the process took quite a while, actually. I remember it took about probably 3 months for me to be accommodated into Centrepoint. So I would say I would change the process and make it a lot quicker and a lot easier and a lot more believable for young people.
I think I'm gonna have to be opposite for you. I wouldn't change anything about my experiences. I think everything happens as it should happen. If I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the bad experiences either, and I just think you don't learn from familiarity. You know what I mean? You learn from unfamiliar. How to say that word? Unfamiliar. Well, anyway, we all know what I mean. But we learn from failure, and some of my greatest achievements in life has been from failure, has been in that situation where I've been sat at home in my bed, depressed as hell, crying, and then it's like, oh, actually, let's do it like that. So for me, I wouldn't change anything about my experiences. I'm proud of my experiences, even the most horrendous ones. They came out to be beautiful situations. So for me, I wouldn't change anything.
Excellent. Aminah, what do you think?
For me personally, I think I would go with George. I had a similar experience with George where social services, the council, even the helpline, they were saying just go back home, nothing will happen, and it's just one more day. I think just trying to believe young people, although there is the council is struggling financially, we're struggling more mentally by having to go back and deal with the same thing.
Thank you.
I wouldn't necessarily change anything because it made me who I am and I'm here before you today because of this. But what I would say would have made a difference is a consistent support network, someone to turn to, someone to teach me how to cook my national dish, someone to teach me how to sew, a shoulder to lean on, someone to tell me that I'd be okay when I need it. It's what everyone wants, and it's a foundation, and everyone needs that.
Thank you. Cameron?
Personally, what would have made it easier for me is knowing where to exactly go. Because when I was on the streets and then found myself at the council asking for support, help, anything, they said, well, come back in 3-4 weeks. We can't do anything until then. Well, I need help now. So what's the what? So they said, right, well, we need a phone call or some information that your parents don't want you. Well, clearly I'm stood here, so... But there is no other option of getting help besides actually going some time going homeless before you actually get help. You shouldn't have to go through the stress, the loneliness, the mental health before you actually start getting help. Because once you start getting help, you've already accrued those problems where you could have prevented them problems to begin with.
I think the message that we're hearing from the young people is absolutely loud and clear. Yeah, please. I must say the experience that you guys are describing is the things that I hear over and over and over again of councils turning people away, councils delaying, gatekeeping, and saying, go back home, you're not on the streets yet, when actually you need help now. But I think I'm also hearing from you that actually the experiences you've had are the things that have shaped who you are, and you wouldn't change those experiences, Ayran.
I just wanted to say, I mean, in terms of safeguarding, really, that's a massive thing. We all know that up until 18, safeguarding, it's there, it's plentiful, there's lots of things in place. But when you turn 18 plus, there's nothing there. You know, when you're 18, if you have capacity, it's a really hard fine line of getting that support as well. So I think that's really massively. And, you know, people, you could be 17 and you could present yourself as homeless and, you know, they'll be like, yeah, we need to help you because you're under 18, because we have to help you because you're under 18. Now, when you turn 18 and you present yourself with homeless, well, they don't have to help you because that's what the law says. Do you know what I mean? And it's just really damaging because young people themselves, like, I had massive safeguarding issues till I was about 25, and I don't care what anybody says, you're not an adult until you get to about 26, so it's about getting it right. If we can provide the safeguarding for anyone up to 18, why can't we provide the safeguarding up to young people up to the age of 25?
I think that's a great point. We should certainly be removing cliff edges for young people, where actually you get to a particular age and support just disappears, fall off the cliff. That doesn't really work. Now, if you have any advice for other young people that are coming up, what would that advice be? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. My advice to young people would be to take any opportunities you get, because you know, when you're in an accommodation, you find you're in a dark place mentally to begin with, and once opportunities tend to come, because you're in that dark place most of the time, most of us don't actually take those opportunities. We tend to think, well, I'm in a dark place, this is where I'm going to be forever. So when you get a chance to, for example, join Centre for Parliament or be on stage or do whatever it is, take those opportunities, because that's going to build your confidence. When you get the chance to do public speaking, you need to take those opportunities because those are life skills that you're learning. So I would say my advice to young people would take any opportunities you get, no matter how big or small it is. And also to just remember that, you know, whatever you're going through in the moment, it's not going to last forever. You know, they always say there's always a sunshine after the storm. So whatever you're going through is never going to last. It's just going to build you, make you stronger, and just remember that you're not alone.
Well, you had it here first. Sunshine after the storm. Cameron, what would you say?
Throughout my trauma and problems, I never let that stop my progression or anything. I just kept battling it, embracing everything, basically. Obviously, it's easier said than done, letting everything come over on top of you. But if you prove yourself, you'll make yourself proud. And if you keep working yourself, you'll just come on top of everything. I don't really know where I'm going with that, to be honest, sorry.
Oh, wow. Keep going. Keep believing in yourself. That's the point. Hurry on.
Even if you find it difficult to maintain any progression or any life skills that you're trying to succeed on, there's always the willpower within yourself, but you just can't see it there and then because there's all this mess in front of you. But if you prove yourself and working yourself, you'll finally see the light to eventually overcome everything. Yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you.
I would say fail and fail fast. You'll learn quicker. Be gentle with yourself. Even though the growth is painful, it's worth it in the end. It's worth it to appreciate the transition of changing, and you owe it to yourself to become the person you truly want to become. You're not subject to be conformed to your struggles. Just because you went through something now doesn't mean that has to be the outcome for the rest of your life. What's broken can be mended, and what hurts can heal. And some of you who have met me before may have heard me say this, but without rain, there's no flowers.
Look, we're getting it all today. Without rain, there ain't no flowers. Aminah.
I found this message quite hard when I had first heard it, and I'm not sure if it's going to come across as harsh, but someone once said that everyone's heard the saying, there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you're going to keep striving to just see the light at the end of the tunnel, whatever problems you're going to face, you're going to find it 10 times harder to deal with. Whatever problems you're struggling with right now, it's up to you whether you make it hard or harder for yourself.
Thank you. And Ayran, what advice would you give?
My advice would be to both young people and everyone in this room, actually. It's something that I found a couple of years ago on my journey was mentors. I used to email chief execs and ask them for meetings and not tell them what the meeting was. And, I'd be like, I'm looking for a mentor, I'm looking for a coach. Can you put me in touch with other people? And mentors are free. And you'll be really surprised how many people will actually give their time to young people. So like I was speaking to a lady in the audience. Oh, where is she? Raise your hand there. There you are. And I was saying to her about, not her, sorry, that's bad. But, if a young person wants to do hairdressing, find loads of hairdressers. Get a hairdresser to have a conversation with that young person. That young person will then know if they're interested in hairdressing or not interested in hairdressing. We sit there and say to young people, oh, do you know what? What do you want to do? Well, why don't you work with that young person and go find a mentor? You want to work with animals, go ring up, sanctuaries and stuff. There's always someone that will make their time for young people. So if I could give you advice, it's get to mentors. These last couple of years, I've had mentors who have been all walks of life, and mentors that have guided me. These mentors have been my mental health support. They've met me in coffee shops when I've had mental health breakdowns. It's not all just about mentoring me professionally. It's mentoring me emotionally, physically, mentally, because that's all important too on a young person's journey. And it's about people will give you the time. And if I could just say, if young people just go ask them, write an email to a sanctuary, pick up that phone. If you pick up that phone and you say to someone, I'm looking for a mentor for a young person, will you be their mentor? What's the worst they're going to say is no. I guarantee you, 5 people might say no, but the 6th person will say yeah. And, it's about navigating that right journey for young people. So, you know what I mean? Allow that young person to have that conversation with the person in that industry or sector that they want to work in. Because you might find it's not actually for them. So, and you've eliminated so much time already by allowing that mentor to come in and have a conversation with them. So, and mentors are free for young people. So, grab as many mentors as you can. I had 4 mentors last year, 5 the year before. Loads of mentors, and it's important. Young people need positive influence, right? I've always dreamed big. I've always wanted to I still want to be a chief exec of my own company. I want big things. Why can't I have big things? I'm a young person. I want to dream. It's amazing, do you know what I mean? And that's what young people should have as well. They should keep dreaming, you know what I mean? Keep believing. And there's no point sitting there in an office and saying to a young person, oh, what do you want to do? Yeah, I want to do this. Oh, yeah, let's sit. Nah, pick up that phone, find someone in the industry and ask, and allow the young person to ask them the questions. You know what I mean? So that's the advice I would give.
And I think you will get there. Thank you. Just one final question from me to you all. Keep it short. One specific thing about your experience that you might want to share today, what would it be? One thing. Can I start with you? No, you're shaking your head. Cameron, actually, you're putting your hand up.
The amount of support that I had. Personally, being here today, I wouldn't have had it without Centrepoint and my family. Although I'm a key worker, last time I was in London at an awards, I'll go into my key worker, thank you. He kept saying, no, you've done this. I'm like, well, no, you came over to me, allowed me to open up, made me comfortable and everything, to then get support. If I didn't actually open myself up and get the reassurance, the support, I don't think I'd ever dream of being here, to be honest. Without that support, it is crucial, personally.
Thank you. I'm sure that there are loads of people here today who really appreciate what you have just said. That is really, really important for us all. Anyone else want to share one specific experience?
Yeah, I would say it's the same thing, similar to Cameron. I would say I had a really, really good key worker, Olu. He was amazing. He supported me so much. I mean, Balbe knows him very well, so I'm sure she can cheer up for him. But yeah, shout out to Olu. Olu he was amazing, honestly, and he's always been, so kind, always listened to me, always took the time to be there to support me, mentally, he was always listening. And that's one thing I would say. He was always listening, giving me advice. And I know Paul from Land Aid mentioned earlier about, moving on. And also that everyone needs support once you move on. And when I moved on from the accommodation, Ollie was still there. Up until today, Ollie is still there. So I would say shout out to all the key workers.
You might want to give Ollie a round of applause in his absence. Anyone else want to share one specific experience?
I think I would sort of like to close mine off and do a couple of shout-outs, really. Obviously, the first one being Frida Dyson, because she's my twin soul flame. And my journey started with Frida Dyson at Centrepoint 10 years ago, and she's still in my life now. She's she's shit hot. She's so good. Sorry about my French. The other person who couldn't be here today because she's passed away was a lady called Lynn Wall. Many will know her from Centrepoint. And also other couple of people, Ruth Carr from Centrepoint. She was part of the rent deposit guarantee scheme. And she really supported me because I was through the Centrepoint bursary team. And at that time, the Centrepoint bursary team wanted... there's quite strict conditions in terms of being in uni or college, and I wasn't in uni and I wasn't at college, but I was doing voluntary work, and I was literally banging on them for 2 years. I'm doing voluntary work, and you know what I mean? I need this for my board work, I need this, and thank you so much to the bursary team because they give me one of the laptops, which is actually upstairs with me now. It's literally, I wouldn't be a bloody board member or a director if I didn't have that. Do you know what I mean? So thank you. And the thing that I love most about my supporter workers at Centrepoint, what you see is what you got. And I needed people on the way to kick me up the arse. I need a Frida to say, nah, that's wrong. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I mean. Don't be afraid to say to young people, no, that's not the right thing to do, because that's what they need. Do you know what I mean? That's what the mum would say. That's what the dad would say if they did have one, or for example. So that's what you need. Don't pussyfoot around these young people. Be firm and fair, because people appreciate that. So yeah.
Excellent. I promise you, we haven't paid any of them to say any of this stuff. Promise. Do you want to say anything? You don't have to. In that case, I know Ikra wants to say something, and I will ask her to say it and then come and close the conference.
So before I was in Centrepoint, I was actually in care for 11 years, and luckily enough, I was in the same family for 11 years from start to finish. I was their first foster child, and I was also their last. However, when I turned 18, I knew that would be a very scary day for me because I lost the protection of the Children's Act. And to be in an environment which you called your family for 11 years, and the day you turn 18, the duty of care to be diminished was a very heart-wrenching thing to go through. After turning 18, my house, it broke down, and That's how I ended up in Centrepoint. But one thing I would say now looking back at it is, at the age of 6 when I was placed in care, the responsibility for my own care was in my hands. And as a 6-year-old, I'd struggled with that a lot. I mean, yeah, I didn't make the best choices at points in my life, and it was a heavy thing to carry for a long time. And I only really started living when I was 18, 19. I started living when I entered Centrepoint because I made the choice to leave my nice affluent area, Muswell Hill, if anyone knows it, quite a big house, and I chose to be in Centrepoint. And I knew the reality of the services because of my care experience, but it was the best choice I ever made for myself. One question I do ask is that this is not a rare thing to happen. Why does my status carry such social injustice? And do you really stop needing parents after 18? Because I can tell you, you don't. Thank you. So it's me again. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for, surviving. I can see there's a lot of empty chairs, survival of the fittest and all. I'd also like to give a special regard to the panellists, because today you've heard 5 heartfelt stories, and in sharing this, there's a real strength in character, and I've been able to meet 5 really amazing people, and these are experiences that I will carry with me into my career, into my personal life, and it will stay with me for the long term. To have 5 young people come together and actively take steps to overcome that adversity is a very rare thing on one platform, but I can say that we only represent a small fraction of the scale of homelessness. The way our environment has conditioned us to be, it goes against our nature to speak up. And I personally am at every statistical disadvantage. How I am 12 times more likely to end up in the prison system, and I only have a 12% chance of ending up in higher education. Those are the statistics you'll hear on Barnet, or I'm going to reference London services because they're the ones that are closely affiliated to me, but they're the ones that determine success. However, that leaves another 88% of people who do end up going to higher education, and they have a 45% chance of ending up in abusive relationships, and they're 6 times more likely to end up in A&E for health-related things. The body remembers trauma, and it turns up physically if you're unable to deal with it. There's a lack of specialist services. There's intervention, and I'm grateful for some of the amazing support workers I have met, but there's no prevention, and you're dealing with symptoms when we should be dealing with it from the start. It was very predictable that people would end up suicidal or potentially self-harm. Young people need to stop fighting to survive. The way the government are measuring people, they keep falling short because they're looking at the wrong statistics and they're failing people miserably. I survived, everyone here survived, and I refuse to let that go in vain. I truly believe that with love, support, and humility, it will prevail. Thank you.
I could not have put it better, and the best thing I can do is to shut up and say thank you for coming. Have a lovely journey back home, and please, another round of applause for my wonderful panel.